So we entered the 9th chapter, really on the death of the husband. And the 10th chapter deals with all kinds of difficult situations and conflicts between different parties, but it actually begins with death. So the death of the husband seems to be the link between the end of the 9th chapter and the beginning of the 10th chapter. And it just begins kind of very, very simply, Misha Hayana Suishte Nashimu mate. Someone who's married to 2 wives, 2 women, and he died. So he's married to 2 women and he died. So I guess we're going to have a question as to who has precedence over the property. Arishona Kodemet Lashnia. The first wife takes precedence over the second. Yorshei Harishona Kodmin the Yorshei Hashnia. And the heirs of the first take precedence over the heirs of the second. I guess this is if the 2 wives died suddenly without being able to kind of take their Ketubot. And the Mishnah seems to be working, the Mishnah is working on the principle that the first wife actually has priority. So the mortgage that she acquires over the husband's possessions when he writes her the Ketubah, if you like, that's, I guess we call it in finance now, we call it a first charge. It's a primary charge. And there's some language in Mishpatim about someone who takes a second wife, and he can't diminish the maintenance he's giving to the first wife. So I mean, bigamy is permitted in the Mishnah, but I'm not sure how much the rabbis like it very much, but maybe it was a social necessity. But the first woman to be married clearly has precedence over the assets because she's got the first charge in the Ketubah. So the first Harishona Kodem Lashnia, Yorshei Harishona Kodmin Yorshei Hashnia. The first takes precedence over the second. The heirs of the first take precedence over the heirs of the second. Es Harishona Umeita. What if he married the first and she died? Nasa et Hashnia Umeithu. And then he married a second wife, and then he died. So now we have, if you like, an ex-wife and a current wife. And we're going to see, by the way, that the current wife seems to take precedence over the ex. So if they're both married, the first one takes precedence. But if only one of them is still married, the one who's married takes precedence. Hashniya ve Yorshei Kodmin Yorshei Harishah. The second and her heirs take precedence over the heirs of the first. And we know that the children of the dead wife can inherit her ketubah. So they will be coming and asking for the value of, they'll be coming and asking for the value of their mother's ketubah after the death of the husband. But that is, if you like, at least the halakha treats that as the repayment of a debt. And someone who wants their debt repaid has to come and claim. But the wife who's, if you like, the widow, the widow who's most recently in possession, she's got the first charge over her ketubah, so she takes precedence. Okay? If she married the first and she died, he married a second wife and he died. The second and her heirs take precedence over the heirs of the first, because the second one is the one who's actually married. So she's got the current charge over the ketubah. That's how the precedence works out. What if he was married to 2 wives and they both died? So they both died. He was married to 2 wives, they both died. So afterwards he dies. This is a tragic situation. The Mishnah is not interested in the tragedy. The Mishnah is only interested in how things are going to be divided. So the orphans come along and claim their mother's ketubah. Now, we've already learned that if there are two wives and they have different amounts in the ketubah, then their heirs are going to get different amounts out of the estate, because they're both entitled to their shares of the ketubah. But one of the halachot which the Mishnah has in the back of its head, and I could not find a source for this, that there has to be, for this to work, for each to take their mother's ketubah in whatever proportions the two ketubot were originally written in, there has to be some kind of inheritance. So we'll see, if there's an inheritance, then they both get the quantity of their own mother's ketubah. But if there isn't, if there's only enough for the two ketubot, Ein sham elek de shtei ketubot. There's only enough money for the two ketubot, so there's nothing left for the inheritance. Holkin b'shaveh. At this point, they divided equally. Somehow, in order for the if you like, the individual orphans' claims over the individual ketubot to work properly, there has to be something left over for the inheritance. So let's say that surplus was minimal. Let's say it's 1 dinar. Hayasham yoter dinar. So maybe there's 1 dinar left over. Elu notlin ketubat iman, ve'elu notlin ketubat iman. If there's a surplus of 1 dinar, then each set of orphans takes their mother's ketubah. These take their mother's ketubah, and the other ones take their mother's ketubah. In other words, if there's just a minuscule quantity of inheritance, we split according to the sums in the ketubah, not equally. And you can imagine we can arbitrage this. Maybe the orphans are going to come along and say, look, we're going to contribute a dinar to the estate of our father. They come along and they say, look, we're going to raise the estate of our father by 1 dinar. Kadeshi talks to Batimam, because they want to take their mother's ketubah. You can see there could be an enormous incentive here. If one of the wives had a giant ketubah, and this would have been fixed up by her family before the wedding, and the other wife had a tiny ketubah, maybe she came from a poor family, you can understand that the children of the richer family are going to want their share. And they're quite happy to put some money into the estate in order to guarantee that. But the Mishnah doesn't allow it. Ein shomin lahem. We don't listen to them. Ela shamin et hanachsim b'veit din. We don't listen to them. We value the whole of the estate at the bet din, at the court. Because if there's only enough for the two ketubot, it's just got to be divided equally, and there seems to be no way around that.